It needs to fill up, I guess.
Come on.
Maybe it needs directions. There's an elk over there. Give me the old beat. Give me the old toot toot. Even though they're standing around doing nothing, laying around, might as well get these pronghorns in there. Posterity's sake. It's almost becoming like an inconvenience. You know? Like you can only ooh and ah so much over the elk. They're on parade today. All right, people, let's move it along. Let's move it along.
Yes, they are fucking huge. I don't care so much about the cows. About where the fuck that bull's at.
He's around. Probably munching on some garbage. Getting his protein.
I'm fucking banging one behind one of these buildings.
Yeah, standing on the hill, silhouetted in a tree. That or sedated, getting fucking tagged in a cage.
Yeah.
Getting the semen extracted.
Getting dripped off.
Yeah, who the fuck knows what they do. Liberty Cap. Today we'll be taking a look at Mammoth Hot Springs and all the mineral deposits, mostly calcium carbonate, that have come up over the millennia. This large black deposit I estimate to be cooled lava over time that was not eroded. So where everything else around it is a deposit, this is being encapsulated by those dissolved minerals from the limestone coming up. Just as the information block said, it's mostly calcium carbonate. You can see that white coloration here, very distinctive of it. More to follow on that. And juxtaposed against this white coloration is the smatterings of elk and bison, noted by the black dung that seems to just be trickling off this. I think they might come and lick the rocks for minerals. That way they can sustain their large frames. Yes, this is about the best angle of Palleti Springs, at least from this angle. Yeah, you can hear, if not see it, coming down, and over here it's dropping into what they call these terraces here, Tapertine Terrace. Flowing under this rockway is the water, making it ever so tempting because it's so close. Ever so tempting to touch. I guarantee my little sister would touch that. I guarantee. So for her. It's a lot cooler by the time it gets to here. Wonder what it tastes like. Yeah. Nothing really to sense with my mouth, except a slight burning sensation. We're downstream from Mammoth Hot Springs, where we were, at least up at that point. what is this called? The Beaver Ponds Loop Trail. Very short trail. Cowgate Butte Trail, Golden Gate, 10.7 mile trail, but we're not going back to where we came from. Didn't drive all the way up here to walk back. This is definitely bear country. So if a bear charges you, stand still, do not run, stand your ground, and use bear spray. Spray when the bear is 60 feet away or closer. If the bear charges, it may be a bluff charge. It says what to do if you encounter a bear. Stay calm. Do not run. Absolutely do not run. Yeah. If the bear makes contact, play dead. Where in here, how come it doesn't say shoot the bear? I don't get it. Just being here within the steam of the springs downstream, there's a much less noticeable sulfur smell, even though there's hydrogen sulfide in the water that the microorganisms subsist on. There's much less of a sulfur smell than what you get over by the geysers. Yeah, as you come downstream, there's a whole ecosystem just in this area. Algae, plant life, grasses, flowers. I think we saw some violets. Rabbits, and of course elk. A lot of elk. Very prevalent. And unfortunately, part of that ecosystem is man. And I guess since man can't make do with the water that God provides, they got to bottle their own, litter it, bare feet from a trash receptacle. Unbelievable. Too easy. Having had started midstream and then working downstream, we're now going to go upstream, because that's the way we feel like doing things today. Just trying to backtrack the evidence of the formation of this little cave. I wouldn't even call it a cave, but we'll call it a shaft. You can tell that it built up over time at one point, and then erosion, weathering, and water flowing underneath and over the top caused it to collapse. So when you look at that, this is another reason they have this walkway. It's because there's such fragile ground around here, you can actually fall in and have a collapse under your feet. Which is a lot more worrisome when you're in geothermal, or the high geothermal activity areas. But yeah, very fragile ground and ecosystem that without this walkway and park would never be preserved. There. Saw these from a way off. This is obviously new, but it never fails. Bullets. Who the hell would shoot a sign? It's amazing how the flowing water between the erosion and depositing of minerals creates those steps. Steps are a very common geological feature. Most people in this modern age, not most people, what I should say is the most ignorant people of our modern age, believe that they were made or formed by something, either an ancient peoples whose technologies rivaled or eclipsed ours, which is just stupid, or giants, which is even dumber. But yeah, I think we should go up. Well, it's relatively barren on top, where it is sunk in. and instead of the water flowing over has dropped in, has created its own little niche ecosystem. Fascinating to me. Hope you enjoyed it. This directs us because there's a detour. There's part of a bridge system that's out with lazy bones leaving their water bottles. Probably police that on the way out. Look like a baby bottle. Even worse. Looky here. So deep down underneath where this is bubbling up, this is where it's pooling at the springs. That's how springs work. Yeah, that water's coming up, the heated water coming to the surface, and again, just like the information blocks have said, creating a creating an ecosystem for certain bacterias, thermophages, basically microorganisms that thrive in hot waters with high mineral contents.
Palette spring?
Palette.
Is it French?
Pallets.
Palette?
Pallets.
Palette spring.
What they used to build the ductwork or something. Actually, no, this is grade A quality lumber. Yeah, Palette Springs. Palette if you're, you know, from where we're from. Palais if you're from Quebecois. Met a lot of Canadians here. I couldn't say where they're from geographically, but they were speaking French, so I'm guessing they're more northeastern. Yeah. But out here out west, they seem to be congregating by the busload. We were here, now we're here. Again, fragile ground. Ground is fragile.
We will be here.
The Overlook.
Yeah.
6,500 or 65, huh?
That's what I'm saying.
Huh. And yet, still handicap accessible. They thought of everything. All right. So, just going off this, we walked past what is known as Minerva Terrace, and then we'll hit this switchback, go past Cleopatra Terrace, and then we'll go up to the Overlook, which is where our Asian friends went about this far and couldn't go further. As we go higher, there's these coniferous trees, evergreens. There's some old preserved dead woods. Got little birds rooting in and around them. But we're getting up towards the wooded area higher above the springs. And I'm sure some cones and pollination have come down and created this small ecosystem within the springs. But it's fascinating to see the clear divide between what's habitable and what's uninhabitable. Almost like a simultaneous stalagmite and stalactite situation there, growing together here at Cleopatra Springs, which we will be above shortly. Just walking along this asphalt path in the advent of man, one of the things that I've come to observe is where it's been washed out because of the sandy substrate that exists beneath it. It's just so loose that even a good rain can wash it out and then cause the asphalt to break off. But nevertheless, where it's here, compact, pretty good in the center, makes a really easy route of travel. just as these walkways do. Cleopatra Terrace. That's pronounced as one word, Cleopatra Terrace. 2 words, Cleopatra Terrace. But yeah, hopefully get a shot looking down at that. This is where you end up if you route around the Detour. Very spectacular pooling and trickling and rock formations. One of those things that you can only see in a place like this, or on TV. I'd be interested to see if I can feel any change in the we'll say the thermal atmosphere. Oh yeah, can definitely feel it. What would you say? Easy, yeah, easy 10-degree change. Maybe 7. But yeah, noticeable change in smell too from the water vapor in the air. You could see a mix of plant life and microbes clinging to rock deposits, making this smell like a almost like a turkey stew, which by the way I brought and I'll be making later. Yeah, in spite of the multiple pathways and nucleations of the rock, it seems to have a real laminar flow along the surface. Got that little bird out there picking away. Yeah, along with the algae, we got moss. Looks like maybe a small amount of lichens, other various bryophytes. Yeah, this is Mound Spring. Something of note that was probably in the video earlier that I missed in my observation is this stick that was somehow put there, either through nature or human intervention, but it has grown quite the high amount of mineral deposits on it.
Everything's too small.
Oh, it's got to be getting wider. Well, I mean wider as it deposits. You can see how it's affecting this tree and this bush, where they may have been that green at one point, or maybe these ones are younger. But yeah, it may have been wider at one point and then receded, but seems to me like it's ever widening, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It's definitely flowing faster on the periphery. Yeah, hard to say unless you've charted and observed it over a long enough amount of time, and this being our first time here, it's impossible to say. See a lot of steam activity coming out of this fissure. It's not hard to understand that you could have a high flow rate through here, going down through that area. So maybe instead of widening, it is shrinking. The harder rock from cooled lava millennia ago creates more of a sheer surface, but where it seems like spring water had flowed over and deposited, You have almost like this ring-like structure on this side. Pretty neat. And as we approach the Overlook, you can see this terrace here, where it seems as though springs no longer flow. It's pretty much dried out and created a mineral desert, if you will. Nothing will grow here for a long time. This is called New Blue Spring. Although new, I think, is a way of denoting what type of blue it is. Obviously, it's ancient. The layered disposition and porosity of these rocks is a clear indication of volcanic activity. I just came up with that sentence. I didn't rehearse it, but it's kind of one of those things that stands as a matter of fact. Well, I cannot tell you the exact composition of these. Again, those different colorations and layers and different levels of thickness, pretty indicative of heating and then cooling and compression. Yeah, each layer, every foot, every meter, a record of history. New Blue Springs. While it was raining in our latitude, or what I should say elevation, it was snowing at the peaks of the hill. We noticed that coming into the park, but the lack of sun made it a little bit difficult to really get a good picture, especially on the drive in. But yeah, there's definitely a fresh deposit of snow on top of the mountains. We're now at the top of the Overlook, 6,565 feet, above mean sea level. Not a total ascent for us, but damn, we could have drove. This is known as Cupid Spring. I don't see a whole lot of water flow. Who knows? Maybe it depends on the groundwater table. It doesn't seem to be springing. Am I incorrect in that, or? It should be drying out and crumbling away. Scattered about throughout the Mammoth Springs complex is a lot of steam vents. Again, high geothermal activity. All you need is a couple voids in the rocks for steam to rise up. Steam expands 16 to 17,000 or 16 to 1,700 times the volume of water at the same we'll say volume of molecules. So where you'll have, we'll say, a liter of water, when that steam expands and reaches back down to that same atmospheric pressure, it fills up a space about 1,600 times larger. So it has the power to move through rock upward. Grassy Spring, aptly named. There's the spring from which it flows, cascading down ever so gently and pooling near what seems to be buffalo and elk shit. So they just come right on out here. That'd be something to see. This thing has to have a name. Hot cave, steam cave, something simple. But yeah. Demon's butthole, something. I don't know. Be creative. But yeah. Another geological feature with hanging steam. Over time, that steam, I'm sure, would poison you. But we're getting We're getting such a low dose out here, and it's dispersing in the atmosphere enough that we don't have to necessarily worry about taking in a lot of hydrogen sulfide into our blood. Or sulfur dioxide, that too. This pine tree and this juniper bush growing together, they've formed a oft overlooked form of weathering, or type of weathering, where the roots have split away at the rock. And that is how Mother Nature, through seeds, starts to reclaim areas that are like deserts, areas that are oversaturated. Once the water chases off, we went through a place called Beaver Lake and Wolf Lake. There is no lake, but it looks like water on the map. So right now it's just grassy marshland, but I'm sure during a spring thaw it'll fill up with water. So yeah, nature does have a way of reclaiming itself. Maybe after a long time this will end up becoming, through germination and fertilization, we'll end up going from these dead preserved trees to a lush, vibrant coniferous forest. And just for everybody's sake, I'm not a amateur, you know, I'm kind of not really a naturalist. I'm not an amateur forestry person or geologist. I'm just an amateur gynecologist that likes to fuck around. Dryad Springs. It's as dry as I've ever seen. So you can see that blue-green coloration. Well, a lot of the blue is a reflection of the sky. That's that cyanobacteria that was mentioned in that information board. And again, if it wasn't for the hydrogen sulfide fixing bacteria, that cyanobacteria couldn't exist because it would be too toxic. Hydrogen sulfide is what's gives off that eggy smell. It's what's like known as sewer gas. Canary Springs. I'm almost positive because of the yellow coloration, that's why it was named like this. Otherwise I'm mispronouncing it, and it's Canary Springs. And it looks like some sort of can of soup. I don't know. It's probably canary. It's amazing flowing downhill from a difference of like almost like a pure white to a snot yellow, all the way to a slimy green. Here's the backside of Canary Springs. We got a pink coloration, a little bit of red. Got your iron oxides and other ferrite materials. We are at, I would say, the right elevation, depending on the temperature, where all this steam is actually going right into forming a cloud. It could literally rain where we're standing. I'm not an ornithologist. I do not know what kind of bird that is, but it's making funny sounds. It was in this tree right here, but then vehicles came through and scared it away, alas. But
And it's shitting itself.
yes,
So.
it is a funny pooping bird. Bye-bye, birdie. This one's not so funny. So when we came up into the Mammoth Springs area, one thing I noted was that a lot of the old historic buildings look like military barracks and housing. Definitely has a tone of federal monies, and it looks like those designs. But one thing that I noted on this Fort Yellowstone placard, where it talks that let me read it and quote it so as not to be misunderstood. Fort Yellowstone is a tangible reminder of the debt of gratitude we all owe the United States Army in protecting the legacy of Yellowstone National Park, and through that, the park idea worldwide. And one thing of note here is it was 7th Cav that was part of that. Footnote of history. So, well, it is modern convention to damn the military and damn certain units for their place in history. Without them, you wouldn't have the country or this preserved area that we have. So, bow down. I'm not sure if the camera's microphones can pick up the girdle of this spring, of which flows down through this parking area. But if we get closer, I'll re-record it. This is what's known as Prospect Terrace. What is perspective of it, or what they are prospecting for, I do not know. But if you were looking for feces, you would have struck gold. Prospect Terrace. Yes, even these man-made areas. We're in the parking lot here above the Overlook area of the Mammoth Springs. There's that funny bird again, being funny. All right. Anyways, a thing of note is there's even erosion today in what man has put to overlay nature. So again, nature does have a way of reclaiming itself. So the story of Jupiter Springs actually outlines what I was talking about earlier, but it has been dormant since 1998. Just missed it, but I was alive to see it. Just didn't have the inclination to come out here. But anyway, if it lays dormant, it stays that way. Eventually, soil will deposit itself on the terrace, just as the information board says. And nature will reclaim it, where it will become an ecosystem full of trees and grasses and shrubs and such. So, I wasn't just talking shit. Again, to hint at the diversity of the ecosystem. Let's see if I can't spot this rabbit. There he goes. I saw him. These birds being funny again. Still hasn't moved all day. Why would they? They're in town. The sun just came out. You know. Yeah. Good place to lounge and sleep. You know. Yeah, those two elk, the mom and the baby, have been there all day long.